We're about time. Let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us for this webinar. This is the official launch for Servion's new CX framework. And just to set the stage, for a long time, in fact, for decades, companies have been using NPS and CSAT as the primary data point to measure customer experience. And that is about to change. I mean, it's no longer relevant now. So what we've done is we've pivoted off from the regular NPS and CSAT, and we want to bring in more timely measures to see how we can get customers or save customers at the moment. So, which is why we've come up with the new CX framework that we'll talk about during today's session. And just a few housekeeping rules before we jump in. All participants are muted. You can type in your questions using the chat window, and we'll take those at the end of the session. And if you can't get to those questions, then don't worry, we'll come back to you after the webinar. We'll do a follow-up session with you, and we'll come back with all of those answers. With that, I'm proud to introduce our CEO, Bryce Gibson. Bryce, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Salva. Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on what time you might be watching this. This webinar is live right now, but we'll also be making this available on demand on our website. So we look forward to seeing you there as well. Today, we're going to cover a number of topics. You can see those here. We'll go through just a little bit about kind of the state of the market and where things are at. We'll talk about the Servion transformation that has started since I arrived here. And then we're going to talk about JourneyWorks, and that is our proprietary and differentiated framework for how we think you can effectively look at your customer experiences, your customer journeys, and where and how to automate. And we'll talk a bit about that. We have a couple specific offers that we're going to go through. And then I think most exciting is to talk about some of those client success stories that we've already had. And so I've got a small team here with me to help present today. We'll introduce ourselves and hand off along the way. But first, I wanted to start by just sharing a little bit about Servion in case some of you are not aware. We are a global system integrator headquartered in the US. We do have a pretty sizable team, about 1,000 team members across the globe that are 100% focused on CX and delivering CX technology in a really smart and thoughtful way. We've been in business for over 3 decades, and I joined the company in January. And part of what made me so excited to come to Servion was the ability to help shape the way that we are moving forward. And it was clear that there was an opportunity for us to do more because clients are not getting everything that they need in the market today. And very quickly we gathered and we started talking about where do we want to be in the market? And we had to start with some core philosophies. And the primary philosophy that I want to share with you all today is we firmly believe, and this resonates with me, and I think it will resonate with you as well, that human connection still remains the most powerful force in business. And that connection should be, we should look for ways to apply technology that amplifies that connection, not merely or not only tries to replace it. Yes, we can replace it in certain instances with automation or AI. That should free up our agents, our people to be able to handle interactions with our customers more smartly than perhaps they have in the past. So today in the market, I'm sure you all would agree, there's just an incredible amount of momentum and the pace of change is incredibly rapid. And you have more choices today than ever before. And I think that paradox of velocity and choice is partly what leads to that next slide and some of those stats that you were seeing there. So we'll talk about those statistics and where they're coming from and what's going on in the market. So Selva, if you want to advance the slide, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so look, I think it's pretty obvious to all of us. We will all be competing with CX as a potential differentiator. And there's a survey by Gartner, and nearly 90% of customers or of clients that were participating in this survey agreed that they'll be competing based on their customer experience in the future. Okay, and then I'm going to jump over and look at the challenges that we all face, right? Almost 80% of us still struggle to deliver a cohesive customer experience or customer journey across multiple channels. So we all agree it's incredibly important, but we all still are challenged with being able to deliver that. And the risk is that nearly 60%, 55% of customers will just silently walk away from your brand after about 2, maybe 3, if they're feeling really generous, bad experiences. Okay, and so there's a tremendous amount of risk. We think generative AI is a game changer. It can be a game changer manager, but there are significant execution challenges and risks, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But look, I don't want to paint a picture that's just full of doom and gloom. If you do this well, customers will pay more. A lot of customers will pay more. And based on a PwC survey, about 86% of customers are willing to pay more, and up to 16% more if they receive kind of what they term a top shelf kind of experience with you. So the stakes are high, and it's incredibly important to get this right. And so let's dive in a little bit deeper into why it's so hard to get it right. Number one, I think if you're using NPS as a standalone metric to try to gauge the quality of the experience that you're delivering, you're probably missing out on some critical information. And at a minimum, it's a lagging indicator of customer experience. And so by the time you find out that you have a problem with your NPS score, whether it be with a specific division of the business or more holistically, it's almost already too late. Many of those clients, if you think back to that previous slide, 56% of those clients have probably already silently defected from your brand. It is incredibly challenging, okay, to do this and to do this well. And MIT had a report that, look, if you try to do this on your own, your odds of success are not very good. If you work with a partner, your odds go up dramatically. But today, there's still a bit of just hype and inability to deliver true ROI with automation and AI. Right? MIT said 95% of generative AI pilots are failing. And the reason they're failing is because they're failing to deliver a demonstrable ROI on that proof of value. Okay. There's lots of different case studies that we could look at, but I'll give you one example. That would be Klarna. Look at what Klarna did about a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago now, came out with a big press release that they were going to leverage Gen AI in their contact center to be able to eliminate 700 agents. And then a year later, almost to the day, they came back and said, this isn't working the way that we thought it was. And we realize we've been reminded that human interaction is incredibly important. And so they're going back and rehiring and adding more staff to be able to do that. So that bottom right box is really the point that I want to make here, is that generative AI by itself will not improve your customer experience. In fact, if you don't have context behind the journey and where and how it's being applied, which is really our definition of journey orchestration, is all the context that goes with that, then you're not going to be successful. And using that Klarna example as a way to test the waters with AI, that's a really expensive way to deploy new technology with one of your most critical assets that your business has, and that's your customers. And so we think there's a better way. In fact, we know there's a better way, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before I go on to that, I do want to talk just a little bit about the team. We all know, we've probably all heard the old saying, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. And so you may recognize many of these faces, but it was absolutely critical to me to pull together a team that has both a lot of experience in the industry, and there's probably collectively more years of experience on this screen than I will say that I care to admit, at least, to finite a number on it. But really, it's all about the passion for customer experience and the value that we can help bring to you as a guide through this period of tremendous innovation in our space, right? And really to help act as a curator of technology and solutions, and to bring that together in a really thoughtful way that amplifies those human connections that you have with your customers. So that's really all I wanted to say here. We can move on to the next slide, which kind of brings us to our transformation. So there's lots of things about Servion. If you've worked with us in the past, first, thank you for your business. If you haven't yet, we hope to do business together here soon. But all of those things that maybe you knew Servion before, those aren't going away. So our ability to migrate from one platform to another, to go from ground to cloud or cloud to cloud solutions, the whole migration with an AI focus, that isn't changing at all. Okay. We are forging some new partnerships while maintaining some partnerships that we've had before, and really looking to grow those. So we have what we term our platform partners, those being Genesys, NICE, AWS, Cisco, Verint, and then we have our emerging innovation partners that are really exciting in some very different ways, organizations like Parloa and Incuba and others. And the ability for us to help tie these together to truly orchestrate a holistic solution is really part of what drew me to Servion. So as an example, being able to bring Verint together with Parloa in some exciting things that they're doing together in the way that you can manage not only your human agents, but also your agentic AI agents is incredibly powerful. So we're really excited about those partnerships that we have. But what we're really moving towards is much more of an outcome-driven approach, right? So let's not focus just on what we might call vanity metrics like NPS or like CSAT, or if that's too strong of a word to describe those, at the least, they're both lagging indicators, right? So how can we drive outcomes that are meaningful to you and your business in real time? And that's a big differentiator. It's not just about how you report on what's happening or how you then follow up after the fact, but the ability to nudge and change the outcome or the course of that interaction in real time is incredibly powerful. And that's what's going to help drive a really strong ROI. And again, I mentioned this before, but really being a one-stop integrator. So again, helping you manage the paradox of both choice and velocity by curating and helping to integrate those solutions for you. That's what we're here for. So I want to give you an example of what I mean when I say that. This is a real world example. This is a telco provider in North America who will remain unnamed to protect the innocent, but they had completed an acquisition and they were in the process of trying to get their customers to migrate from one solution or one platform to another, and they were not getting a very good migration rate or success rate. And so we talked to them and we looked at, look, show us the steps in the process. What does this journey look like? And they pulled out this little diagram that had 7 neat little boxes, and there was one line, you completed this step, then you went to this step, and then you went to the next. And the problem was that kind of traditional journey mapping or happy path mapping, it's not based in reality. This is what was really happening. And we've deployed a pretty innovative solution to be able to dynamically track almost 90,000 interactions in the span of 30 days. This was not a 6-month long study or a year-long study, but 90,000 interactions tracked over the course of 30 days. And the map that you see here, you start in the upper left and you kind of wind your way to the right, and then you wrap around, right? This is the reality. This is what was really happening, okay? So now think about trying to automate this process. If you're in your mind, you think there's 7 easy steps between the start and the finish for this particular journey, and that doesn't match with reality at all. And all these little gray lines that you see, those are all the loopbacks and all the different variants that these interactions took in reality. So this is an incredibly powerful tool for us to be able to bring to bear to help you in the application of automation, AI, and other technology in a much smarter way. Okay, much smarter. And the other thing that this tool allows us to do, again, is to be able to look at a complex scenario like this and apply AI and technology to be able to start nudging that path in one direction or the other so that we can help keep your customers on the right track to actually get to the end of that journey. And that's part of why we talk about our new tagline is where journeys get done. This is the case study for it. It was sheer luck that any clients, any customers were migrating through this process before that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce. Bruce is our Chief Growth Officer here, a recent addition to the team, but a long time and well-known name in the space. And he's going to talk about JourneyWorks and specifically why we brought this to the market and what it includes. Bruce?
Yeah, thanks, Bryce. Yeah, exactly. What you just said. If you look at that previous slide, and I've seen that for quite some time, and it was really part of the impetus behind where journeys get done, because it is a small miracle that somebody can translate across that journey and actually get it done. And it made us really all think about what we could do better. And so the importance of understanding the journeys and be able to provide journey context is critical. And then when and how to bring in these technologies that are pretty incredible across all of our partners and really help us with our clients deliver outcomes for their customers. So that's where the CX execution framework and the journey works gets done. Concept came from. And, if you look at the name too, Journey Works with little CX in there, you can sort of love that little spin on that. So that's our execution framework. We leverage our strategic partnerships like Genesis, NICE, and Parlo, and Genesis, NICE, and Cisco, but also working with our innovation partners. Of course, innovation also comes from our strategic platform vendors, but Parlo, Incubate, and Verint. And we try and turn these complex, fragmented customer experiences into an orchestrated and personalized journey that delivers ROI for our clients, but delivers efficient results for their customers. So it's the framework, and is a way to engage rather than a specific set of technologies. And of course, one of the things we want to be really powerful at is looking for those next best pieces of tech and bring them into our story. So we're also open to what our partners continue to evolve their product platforms and tech. So we're starting with 4 key offers though, and I wanted to go into a little bit of 2 of them in more detail, supported by Mike. The one I'll tell you a little bit more about is our Discovery Launchpad and what it entails, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about our Onboard Plus offer. That is how we help our customers onboard their new clients. There's a lot of waste that happens there. We want to really focus on a specific use case around Onboard Plus. We've got Voice IQ, which is our white labeled offer around agentic AI services. Then we've got Engage 360, which is our managed service offering, and Mike's going to talk about that. So Discovery Launchpad, to be specific, there's a reason it's called Discovery and Launchpad. Discover is the first part. So when we engage with our clients as a partnership, we try and understand where are the big challenges, and we take a journey focus on that. So we kick it off with a journey acceleration workshop. What that does is spends 2 or 3 hours. It really helps us understand with our client where those issues really are. What are the priorities? We do the same thing on the agentic AI components. So we look at the lifecycle management. We do a voice audit of the IVR. We'll look at the behavioral abandonment analytics sort of to get a framing of the scale of the problem. But that's the discovery part. Just as important is Launchpad. So in that case, take a specific journey and orchestrate it to understand exactly how that journey is delivering. And what you saw a couple slides ago was exactly that process. That came through the deployment of one journey and really understanding. And again, the first time we showed this to the client, it was like a wow moment. The other thing we'll do is we take one voice stream and automate it end to end. So you get an AI agent use case. And between those, and within 60 days, we hope to deliver a plan and some outcomes so that when you go up and want to deploy this at scale, you've got a really super powerful business case, and rapidly as well. So that's Discovery Launchpad. To talk about our sort of overall client success initiatives and how we support our customers, and to talk about Engage 360, I'm going to hand over to Mike, who runs that org for us. Mike?
Thank you, Bruce. And nice job to both you and Bryce so far with the updates. Pretty exciting. And I love hearing about them. And now I get the part which just brings me pure joy. And that is, once we decide to work together and do business together, what does this long-term relationship look like? Now we've agreed, and how will we grow, and what does it mean? So whether you're an existing client of ours or whether you're considering it, I want to demonstrate over the next couple of slides just really how focused we are on the client experience, your experience, and demonstrating that we are not a one and done systems integrator. And I think this will come through in the design. So ultimately, the 2 things that I want to talk about are Engage 360, as Bruce introduced, as well as our client success. So let's start with Engage 360. We think both Engage 360 and our client success are true differentiators. And that's what's going to emerge from this long-term relationship. What really drives us is the ability to deliver an exceptional experience, to be proactive, and to make sure you are realizing the business value from that investment. And so other companies or organizations will talk about day 2 support or managed services. That really just brings an image of break fix. And that's just not enough in today's world. So we've literally spent the last 8 months redesigning this support program with interviews, industry research, other best practices. We've even incorporated some solutions that were not available as recently as a year ago into this new Engage 360. The other trend that's driving this change is the move to the cloud. And that move to the cloud has really revealed some surprising patterns and trends. The first is, the big platform partners talk about or promote the fact that you don't need as much support because IT is not involved and servers went away. But the fact is quite frankly, that is not true. What happens is the burden shifts from you in a partnership with your IT team to primarily you and your business owners. And now you have to handle the testing and the training and the support. And with the rate of change accelerating, new features are coming out what used to be twice a year or maybe every quarter. Now it's monthly and weekly. And with that, when there's a gap like that, that means your team is not using the full set of features and functionality. Then you're disappointed that you're not seeing the full value from the investment. And that's what we've designed Engage 360 to do, which is fill that gap and go beyond what the OEMs are offering today. So we think that a couple of the major enhancements we've also implemented is a tiered approach so that depending on where you are, we've got a support model that aligns perfectly with that. It's also going to look at your entire ecosystem, not just the specific software that is being provided by the big OEM partners, which doesn't necessarily have a global kind of bigger environment view, but that's what we'll do. And then I'd like to highlight that it's also going to, besides all those things that keep the lights on, we've got offerings built in that'll be really focused on optimization and audits and other innovation that ultimately is going to improve the key business outcomes that matter to you. And when we work with you, you'll hear us talk about our goal is to make you a hero. So we need to know what matters to you, how you measure it, and how we're moving the needle on those. So those are just a few of the highlights to our exciting new Engage 360 program that will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. So existing clients, you will hear about those. Those new clients will hear about it right from the first time they meet with Tony or a member of Tony's team. On the client success side, there's also 4 exciting new launches that seems to be the theme, launch. There's 4 things that I'd like to highlight today. One is, as of October, we are kicking off a monthly client success webinar series that kicks off on October 14th at, I believe, 11 a.m. Eastern. So mark your calendars, but you'll be getting a number of emails about that. And these webinars will focus on a couple of key items. Number one is we will highlight success stories from other clients so you can hear from your peers and colleagues about what worked and best practices. We will be highlighting other key industry trends and other best practices that will help you. And our first one is literally using some of the AI tools we have in-house to comb through thousands of support tickets and identify about the top 5 themes and trends and how you can proactively address those, or how together we can do that to create a much better environment and platform for you and experience. So that's our first one, but look for that series. We also recognize that these changes are coming so rapidly from our partners that it's hard for you to keep up. So client success, in partnership with our marketing team, will start sharing our platform partner newsletters summarizing those key features and functionality and enhancements that you need to know about to make sure that you're utilizing everything that's available to you. In early 2026, we will be launching a client community forum as a way to bring this community together of Servion clients who are engaged with us, and that will lead to a client advisory board. So those clients who are enrolled at the platinum level, which is our top tier, will have the opportunity to join our client advisory board. So lots of new client success initiatives being rolled out over the next couple of quarters. And, really our view is when we do both Engage 360 well and client success well, then it's really easy for you to do business with us and grow with us from one journey to many. And with that, I will turn it over to Tony.
Well said, Mike. Thank you. We can segue. Thank you, Selma, for that. One of my most favorite things to do in the world is to get a chance to meet with our clients and work together with them. And probably more favorite than that is the opportunity to talk about successes with our clients. And so I wanted to take a moment to do that. What really matters is how all of this makes a difference, how it makes a difference for our clients and how it makes a difference for our clients' customers. As they say, that's where the rubber hits the road. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about this this particular client of ours. They're a large nationwide telco service provider. We've actually been working with them in various capacities for over 6 years. They undertook and consolidated recent mergers within their business, and they were looking for a collaborative partnership to develop a strategic migration plan, one that contemplated the consolidation and alignment of various and disparate architectures and applications, and most notably to somehow smoothly migrate over 6,000 of their agents onto this new cloud platform and develop a roadmap plan to elevate their customer journeys. As part of that, we partnered together with this organization and developed a multifaceted roadmap that included not just the core platform implementation and its integration, as you'll see in some of the bullets on the side here, but also the delivery of specialized tools to actually accelerate the migration process. We developed a unified WFM solution for them. A lot of effort and focus on the migration, traditional or legacy IVR into new AI-powered IVA. And then, underpin that with ongoing managed services, which is something that we've been providing for a number of years for this client, and elevating that into optimization and innovation capabilities to really elevate the value that they're able to provide to that. And so actually, Selma, if you want to migrate to try to convert to the next slide. A core landmark phase was the ability for us to work with them to seamlessly migrate 1,100 of their agents, and to do that in just 90 days, and to do it with no disruption at all to their business. So the executive contacts within our client were so impressed with the work that Servion had conducted for them. They were compelled to send us this wonderful letter of thanks that detailed the accomplishments. We've anonymized that, again, as Bryce says, to protect the innocent, but the verbiage you see here is the direct verbiage that they sent in their letter. And it's something we're very proud of. So I thought that was impactful to share with all of you. Give you a moment to read that. And with that, I'll hand it back to Bruce. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks, Tony. Yeah, that feedback we got from our client was amazing, and certainly made me feel really good about joining Servion. I mean, that is what it's about, is to deliver great outcomes for our clients, and I'd say just as importantly for their customers, because if they're successful, and I'll say one thing about the way our philosophy is that it's a partnership, between the vendors, ourselves, and our clients, and we want that to last a long time and really help our clients' businesses excel, and that's often through delivering great outcomes for customers. So anyways, want to share a few customer stories. I won't spend a lot of time on this one just because of time, but I want to emphasize that we have some really awesome deployments with NICE around the CX1 platform. And this is just one example of many where this business has they manage over 200,000 businesses themselves. And we helped NICE with a big migration onto their platform. They had a multitude of platforms. They consolidated under one. They migrated over 1,700 agents. And we all did that without sort of impacting the customer experience at all. So that's pretty incredible and improved first contact resolution. Very complex project, and sort of demonstrates sort of what we can achieve with our partners, and that's why there's so important to us. This is I'll spend a little time framing this one, but I love this idea of a virtual business process outsourcer, and how the way to think about an agentic AI agent is just as a human agent. And our partner Parallel really does this in spades, in that, if you think about the way a client decides to build a large contact center, often they'll have insourced agents and outsourced agents. So in some ways you can think about an agentic AI agent as an outsourcer, right? But the way we enable the skills for that agent is the way that you enable the skills for a human agent. You give them a job description, you put them through training, you quality monitor their calls, and then you do post-call surveys. So, and you manage, and this is the cool thing with there's a partnership here with Verint, where we actually use Verint's WFM to manage the agentic AI agents like the human agents. So are they at their seat? That's pretty easy when it's virtual. Do we have enough capacity? What's our plan? So you can see how this is evolving. I think we're moving away from conversational AI as sort of a piece of tech and selling as tech, but rather talking the language of our customers and how you manage a complex contact center. So this idea of a virtual outsourced agent where we could say, hey, give us a shot. We'll take a queue we'll train these agentic AI agents to handle this call volume or even a part of the call, So I love this way to go to market. You can flip just to an example of a deployment. This is an example of a large retailer. They have 80 stores, 5,000 staff. They handle 500,000 transactions a year. And with this agentic AI capability, they were able to automatically identify. So that sort of identified, IVV part of, authenticating yourself into a contact center. Everyone knows how painful that can be. This makes it all automated and efficient. And they were, a huge success rate of 74%. And what that did for the agents, and that's why we believe in this human agent and the agentic AI agent working in partnership, is that reduced the repetitive tasks of the live agent. So they got right to the business. And they're dealing with a happy customer at that point. So it makes it a much better experience for that agent. We all care a lot about the agent experience. We know it's a tough job. So that's a great example of how we work with our partners on agentic AI agents. Let me talk about Journey. And one of the things I want to reemphasize that we can do with Journey orchestration that's so powerful is this, and this is a great case study. So you can see that number, 703% ROI. And you go like, there's no way you could deliver that ROI. And yes, it was done. The way this example worked is this client was a bank, and they're trying to onboard new customers with a new card. And you can think about the millions of dollars they're spent bringing those clients or those prospects to your website, and then give them experience. And then they, that's half the battle. Like marketing might say we won, but what they have to do is they have to onboard the client and get to first use. And so they're getting about a 10% drop or 90% drop from, pushing out their marketing and getting people to site. But then they're losing another 90% getting to first use the card. You think you spent all that money in marketing, boy, you better get to the end of the show. The journey was not great. And so we identified where that journey was breaking down. Now, this is the really powerful part. So instead of putting an NPS survey out and getting a score to say like, it was a 2 experience or it was an 8 experience, what we're able to do with journey orchestration is capture that customer right at that point in frustration and put them back on the happy path. Now, just by identifying where they're falling off and helping them with a little nudge, they got a 50% uplift in conversion rate. But what was even cooler is it's a bit of a struggle to get a new card, right? There's a lot of information you got to provide. So they put a little incentive. They gave a coffee voucher for $5. This customer's worth 10,000, lifetime value. $5 for a coffee card. They only had so much money for that coffee voucher, right? And so they ran that budget for a month. When they did that, they doubled the conversion rate again, 120% lift in conversion rate. You can think how much they spent on those coffee vouchers, right? But what's even cooler is when the voucher money ran out, they had to not give the voucher away, and the numbers dropped down to where they were before. Still better, but nothing like that voucher. So the idea of helping your customers really understand the impact of investment in them and catching them right then and there instead of waiting for the NPS survey. This is a mission changer. And that's how they got that 703% ROI. So I'll move on. Yeah, look, we've had the opportunity to talk to many of the key analysts in the market on our go-to-market story, how we want to deliver journey work and journeys get done, how we're going to be scalable and outcome focused. And, it's not surprising. We're getting really good feedback. I do think we're telling the story a different way. And I think this journey orchestration and context is big differentiation. And I think it's going to really help our clients. But it's great to get this feedback both from our partners and from the industry at large. And I want to thank our partners because they really support us at our launch. We got some great quotes from all our key partners, Verint, NICE, Genesis, and Incubus and Parlo. So thanks very much for that. Now, we got some things coming up. We're doing for time. We're actually doing okay. We want to make sure that we're sharing best practices and best new ideas with you on an ongoing basis so we can have a real conversation with you going forward. So in October, Parlo is going to support us with how you deploy an agentic AI agent, just as I sort of gave you an example of right there. In November, same thing with Incubus on journey orchestration. They have some really, really cool stuff happening with AI. I can't wait to tell you about it. It's really awesome. So that's going to be coming up in November. And then December, we'll love to have an analyst on board and have them share some where they see 2026, the big motions that they're seeing in 2026. You can subscribe to this, and so you'll be part of the series. So you'll get the invitations automatically. So between Mike's sort of deep dive on latest and greatest features coming out for our partners to make sure that you know how to take advantage of them. You're paying for them, so you might, and I know our partners want you to use them, so we might as well help you find a good way to use them. And then through these sort of what's happening next, we want to be across the latest in the CX space. So let's stay connected. And then, yes, one really special offer, that Discovery Launchpad offer I spoke about earlier. For our first 3 clients that engage us, we're only going to charge $25,000. I can tell you, it definitely costs more than that. So I strongly recommend, there's only 3 of them because we can only afford so many, to take us up on this offer and let's get going. In 60 days, we could really discover sort of the hairballs that you saw in that previous example that we can help you with, but also do some orchestration to help save that with real return, and then see where we could deploy an agentic AI agent. And I think one of the real issues has been where to put that agentic AI agent to work. By understanding your journeys, we'll be able to help you and then deliver a great business case to grow that out with you and help your business. So that offer, first 3. So jump on it now. Okay. Next slide. At this point, we can open the floor for questions. I want to be really respectful of the 45 minutes. We have 2 minutes left. I'm pretty happy about that. But if there's any questions, Selva, and please give them to Bryce.
Yeah, there are a few questions. So like I said, we'll go through how much we can cover now, but if there's anything that's not covered during the session, we'll follow up post the session. I'll shoot the first one. There's multiple CX tools in the ecosystem and it's very complex. How can Servion actually guide clients selecting the right technologies? That's the first one.
Yeah, perfect. It's a great question, and actually kind of a nice way to wrap things up today. I think we talked about that, right? What we're doing is getting really focused on driving meaningful outcomes that matter to you, that matter to your business, and breaking those down into small, kind of bite-sized pieces of work. And so the whole idea is to innovate and then iterate very rapidly. Right. So we're talking about proven demonstrable ROI in 60 days or less. And when we can help you use then the ROI, the savings or the additional revenue, whatever that may be, from those quick wins to help further fuel and fund ongoing innovation and iteration. But it's all about, a really focused discovery component combined with Launchpad. I think that first offer that Bruce talked about really is kind of the poster child for how we can help you and help you quickly. And I would just say with that, to Bruce's point, I want to be really respectful of everyone's time. So I don't think we'll take any more questions. I just want to thank you all for joining us and spending time with us today. We know that your time is valuable. We really appreciate that. My contact information is here on this slide, and that's because I would love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to sit down face to face or over the phone or by video to be able to connect. And so you've got my contact information there. Please do. And Bruce, any last words?
I do actually. Yeah. So if you don't meet Bryce in face to face on your location or over the phone, we're going to be at Experience next week. So you're at Experience, so am I, and Tony. So we'd love to meet you there if you're there. But Frank, who couldn't join the call today, who's our Chief Revenue Officer, and I'm sure Frank Tersini, I'm sure you all know who he is. He's going to be at Engage with Shri and Mike. Are you there? I can't remember who the third person is, but we will be there as well.
Niels will be there. Yep.
Pardon me?
Niels will be there.
Right. So yeah, next week we're going to be live and in person. Love to meet up with some of you at those points. And then just last thing, for those who attended, we'll be reaching out to see if we can get you one of our JourneyWorks mugs. So to follow up. So thanks very much for the time. I think we're right at time, 2 minutes over, not too bad. And thanks for all of you for joining. That was a fun session. I enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, that's it.